Imagine a world where you don't ramble, that you could take any topic and instead of going around in circles, you could explain it in the most simplest, concise and engaging way. Well, you can, because I did. Over the last 3 years, I've been studying the best communicators in the world, and I've picked up on these little nuances that they do every day to stop them from rambling. And in this video, I'm going to go through exactly what they do, starting with the question they ask themselves before they even open their mouth, the way they explain things in simple terms, the frameworks they use to explain them. And then I've also got a little secret one. If you're not confident with using the frameworks that they use and explain it in simple terms, this secret technique right here will almost work every single time. But if you not only want to improve your rambling skills and get more to the point, but also want to eliminate all the weak communication that you do on a day-to-day basis, there's a free link below. Put your email in, and over 30 days, I will send you 30 ways to improve your communication. So let's get into it. The first one, the question they ask themselves before they even open their mouth. The problem is, when you come to conversations and someone asks you a question, you don't think, you just speak. And then you're trying to think of the thought mid-process whilst you are speaking. And that is totally incorrect. You need to think about the outcome before you even start. So there's one question that I got from the best communicators. One of them was Craig Valentine. Is what do you want them to feel, think, and do after your conversation or your presentation? Because once you can answer that question, you have a clear goal of where you want this conversation or presentation to go. It's like going to the gym. You know when you go to the gym and you don't really have a goal and you don't know what your session is, you just go to the gym to go to the gym. And you end up just going on the bench press. Then you look around, you see what machine's free. You do some bicep curls. You do a few of them, and then you look around, you don't really know what to do. So you go to the treadmill and you look around, and after, you might do a few sit-ups. There's no clear indication of what you are going to do that session, which means there's no clear plan. So you kind of just make it up on the spot. And it's the same when you're communicating. If you don't have a clear plan of where you want to go, it's just random. But if you know exactly what you want them to do after the conversation, do you want them to feel excited? Do you want them to think about something in particular? Or do you want them to buy your product? Because after you know that, you will stop rambling as much just because you know where you want to go. And that moves me on to the next one. How to explain things in simple terms. Now, that one sounds a little bit vague, but Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. When I was coaching MMA, which I still do a little bit now and again, I didn't realize how good I was at communicating in MMA compared to everything else that I do in my life. And I started to wonder why. Why am I good at communicating whilst I'm coaching? Why can they get the technique very easily when they've only just started? And it's because I had this massive amount of knowledge. My knowledge was like this, or still is in MMA. But because it was like this, I was able to explain it in simple terms. And by having this amount of knowledge, a vast amount of knowledge, you will be able to explain it in simple terms. And if you struggle to explain something in simple terms, it's probably because you don't know enough about the particular subject. So the best communicators, they are knowledgeable in their field. They know everything in their field. Craig Valentine knows so much about public speaking. Steve Jobs knew so much about Apple. Bill Gates knew so much about Microsoft. And because they had this vast amount of knowledge, they were able to funnel it into a simple way. And the way they do that is through analogies, because analogies is what allows people that don't understand the topic to think about something they do know and relate it back to that same topic. Just how I've used an analogy in the first one about going to the gym, because pretty much everyone goes to the gym. You probably go to the gym. It's an easy one to relate to. So the second one is all about having the knowledge so you can simplify what you know. Because if you don't, it becomes very, very hard. Then that moves me on to the next one. And this is how they put their knowledge into words. This is how they structure it. Every great communicator, even if they don't know they are following frameworks. And I got this from Matt Abraham's book. He talks about improv communication, improv speaking, and the one thing that I took away from that book is frameworks. The best improv speakers, they are the best at following frameworks, following a structure, following a pattern. It's like driving a car. When you have maps to get to a destination, it makes it a lot easier. Now that map that's on your phone that's telling you where to go, you can still divert off that map and it will re-divert you to the location, but it directs you to where you want to go. And these frameworks do the same thing as a sat-nav on your phone. They direct you to where you want to go. And you find out where you want to go by answering question number 1. So once you have the answer from question 1, which is what do you want them to think, feel, and do after the conversation, and you have the knowledge to explain it, you can use these frameworks to guide you in the right path. One that I like to use is what, so what, now what. And this is Matt's favorite framework that he uses in the book. And he calls it a Swiss Army knife of frameworks. And it helps guide you with your communication. Let's do an example. I've moved to Thailand to focus on my speaking business. This has given me a lot more time to create the videos that I didn't have. This means I have the potential to grow it into something that can pay for my living. That was a what, so what, now what. And it allows you to simplify what you want to say, and it directs you to the final goal. Now, what did I want you to think, feel, or do after that? From that, I wanted you to understand why I moved to Thailand for 2 months. Now, these techniques, they are good, but they're not great. Now, if you look at all the best communicators, they all said this. Now, this secret technique, I worked this one out by myself because I used to try and improvise my speaking and sometimes I'd trip over my tongue. Well, this is where your secret technique can come into play. Because the great thing about this secret technique, only you know it. And what I mean by that is, it's your perspective. It's no one else's perspective, it's your perspective. And this is stories. I learned this in Toastmasters. Because in Toastmasters, you do an exercise where you go on stage, they ask you a random question, and then like that, you've got to do an improv speech for 2 minutes. Now, sometimes trying to organize the right framework that I can use to then talk about it when it's a subject that I'm not really strong on, I'm not really knowledgeable on, is very hard, which is why stories can help you tremendously. Now, what stories allow you to do is use your learnings, your experience, your perspective to talk about a topic. Because they don't know what you've seen, which means if you do make a mistake whilst you're speaking slightly, they won't know. If you get the weather slightly wrong within the story, or you get the location slightly wrong in the story, that is completely fine. But with a story, you can convey a message. So when I get asked a question, a random question, I will try and think of a story to relate to that situation. So I can start telling the story, and then I can get into the message after. Now in Toastmasters, I got one question. What has a bad experience taught you in your life? Now, I talked about my head injury before. I didn't really want to do it again. So I used a story from when I was 15, and it was a party. Now I had a house party, but it was only meant to be 10 people. So we're all drinking, I'm 15 years of age, my parents have gone away, I've got a free house, we're enjoying ourselves. But it's the first time I've had a drink, so I'm having a bit too many. And then before I know it, I'm blacked out. And I remember the police there, my brother there, and 65 people in my house. And later down the line, I realised there was a party down the road that got cancelled, and they all came to my house. And I remember waking up and just seeing my carpet black. But my carpet was cream, and it was black from all the mud that people brought in. And that experience taught me, if you're going to run something, make sure you have it under control. That's in business, that's with sports events, that's with throwing a house party. And I did that on the spot. I could have made a better one, but I literally had 2 seconds to figure out what to say. The great thing about a story is you're just reliving the moment. And whilst you're reliving the moment, all you've got to think about is the message after, relating it back to the conversation or the question or the presentation. So that's why I think stories are a secret weapon, because it's something that no one else has. No one else has my experience. Whereas if I have to explain what the quarter one sales are in the business, using the knowledge and the framework, other people in the business will know that. But by using a story, that is where I will become unique. And it also will allow me to explain things in a concise, simple, and engaging way. And that is how you stop rambling. That's how you get rid of rambling. First of all, you ask yourself the question, what do you want them to think, feel, do, understand after the conversation? Second, you explain it in simple terms. Could a baby understand? Third, you use a framework to guide you to the final goal. And if you don't like any of them, you can use my secret technique of using a story, because that is unique to you. Now that was just 4 ways to improve your rambling. But if you want some other ways to make sure you don't ramble anymore, there's a link below, completely free, and that will eliminate your weak communication. I will send you 30 ways in 30 days to improve and get rid of your rambling. And also, even though we went through how you can get rid of your rambling, it won't work if you don't do this. So you should check this one out.